The title of this podcast is Letting Your Conditioned Mind Tell You What Will Make You Happy is a Mistake. I couldn't agree with this more because for so many years, my conditioned mind dictated where my life was headed and what I was experiencing in the present moment. And even though my conditioned mind took me down a path that didn't yield what I was looking for, it never apologized once. It just kept making it up as it went along. And when I refer to the conditioned mind, I'm thinking about all the things, I'm considering all the things that have influenced the way that I think, the way that I see the world. And that includes where I grew up, the household I grew up in, the people that were in my ear, what was happening around me in my community, in society, all those things influenced, what I thought I wanted, from career to material things and possessions to the goals that I had for my life. I mean, I didn't wake up, or was born with these ideas. They were put in my head, or I acquired them along the way. And somewhere I didn't make a note of exactly where I got the idea or how this came to be something that was important to me. I just assumed that this is what I always wanted. But how do I know that that's not the case? It's because had I grown up in a different environment, or had I grown up, you know, uh, having different experiences, being around different people, that would have certainly influenced the way that I saw the world, as well as it would have affected how I see people and the things that I want for my own life. So none of it really derived from me. It derived around all these other things, and I continue to have these experiences that shape how I see the world. The difference now is though I'm mindful about the experience. I can be contemplative or reflective about the experience to see if it's still in keeping with where I want to go. So a great example of my conditioned mind, telling me to do something that wouldn't make me happy, or insisting that I resist something because it won't make me happy. An example of that would be Arizona. I was based on how I grew up and what I came to believe would make me happy, which at 18, I thought it would be marrying my high school girlfriend and staying in Tennessee. And instead, I was, by way of the Marine Corps, ordered to go and live in Arizona. And I resisted internally, externally, that whole idea of moving to Arizona. And so for the next 4 years, as a result, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. I hated Arizona for 4 years in the Marine Corps. And when I look back of having these new experiences in Arizona and letting go of moving back to Tennessee, I actually allowed myself to be open to what Arizona had to offer. And it wasn't that Arizona had something to offer because it always did. All of life does. The difference was I was open to it. And because I was open to it, I started to see the beauty of living here in Arizona. Now I couldn't imagine that I would be happier back in Tennessee, but perhaps I would be. But I think only if I had worked on myself. And what I mean by the only if part, through working on myself, I have learned to be happy no matter where I am. It is almost unimportant of where that place is. If I worked on myself, I will find the value, the good, the beauty in being in that place. It's right there all the time. Whether or not I'm conscious of it is a completely different story. And a conditioned mind is often not conscious. Well, it's not conscious at all, but it's unaware of how good we have it. And I had a really good move to Arizona. Thankfully, I stayed here for 4 years, got this idea of moving back to Tennessee, out of my head, I move further and further away from that's what it will take to make me happy to giving Arizona a chance. And the same thing with friendships. I was talking to someone here recently, and we were talking about like, would we think we would be friends? Because you come up with this idea that I need people that are like me to be friends. And so I started describing to this person, like, look how much we have in common. Like, would you have ever thought this? I mean, here you are, we are physically, we're from different biological races. Not that they didn't have a friend who happened to be black. They did. I'm super into like staying fit and exercising. That's something that you do, but you do very differently. You like yoga. And so you like being around yogis. The other thing is I'm vegan, you enjoy eating meat. You're a serious coffee drinker and connoisseur. I don't drink coffee at all. I don't understand coffee. Uh, and um, and the list goes on. I'm into snowboarding and pickleball. I mean, you're a parent of four kids, and so on paper, it would be like, hey, we have nothing in common. But the truth is, we really enjoy hanging out and talking and sharing ideas and experiencing each other and helping each other grow. So, but our conditioned minds would have told us that we have absolutely nothing in common. So why would we even like consider being friends? And it's become one of the greatest friendships of my life. And so the conditioned mind doesn't know what it's talking about. And another example of that was changing a job. Like you change your job, or like you didn't get promoted and that's awful. You can't be happy anymore. Or, I hate it here. I got to go somewhere else. And the mind will have you like taking some of these actions that take you further away from what will actually make you happy, which is where you are, And so if you can work on yourself in such a way that regardless of what happens out there, that you want to work on being happy in here, then you can be happy with whatever happens out there. So I invite you to consider that your conditioned mind is a source. Conditioned mind and that troubled heart or fickle heart are the source of any unhappiness that you are experiencing in your world. That's not to say that there aren't things that happen that challenge us. They do. But even in those situations, there's something there that is beautiful. There's something there. And I see it every day at Mayo Clinic. We see people walk into those buildings seeking care on perhaps the worst day of their lives or one of the worst days of their lives, with incredible weight on their shoulders. And the wise people will notice the personable greeter who welcomes them into the hospital, to the person who helps them with their appointments, to the medical assistants and nurses and LPN to, you know, provide some of their care, to the doctors who take it to the next level. Uh, they notice that compassion, that kindness, that patient center experience that we are all committed to delivering. And so, in the midst of that, those challenges, those health challenges, they can see the beauty that's all around them. How do we know? Because patients tell us. And the same thing happens in the world. But you have to work on that conditioned mind to be able to see it and, more importantly, to feel it.